The Kolbrin Bible, Book of Morals and Precepts, Chapter 2, The Nature of the True God. There is but one God, the High God, the Designer, the Creator and Ruler of the earth, and the Lord of the kingdoms of light and darkness, everlasting, all-powerful, and beyond the understanding of men. The great dweller in everlasting pregnant silence, unseeable, unknowable. By a command he created man, and in his indulgence permitted the gods to be fashioned. He is the source of all that is, the Father of fathers, the Mother of mothers, the one who preceded the Son. The Son is not God, though his creation, for its brightness bestows the light and life upon the earth. It gives warmth to the aged and quickens the child in the mother's womb. It nourishes the seed and calls forth the green growth. It is the instrument of the high God, his furnace fire of life. The sun is removed from man at night time, but the true God is always with him. Man never walks alone. He is never unescorted. To this God alone give praise, self-created, maker of heaven and earth, founder of the kingdoms of light and darkness, the waters and the mountains, to the one that is above all, the spring from which flows all wisdom. To him alone belong adoration, thanksgiving, honor, and praise, who spread wide the great canopy of heaven and pinned back the curtains of night with the stars, whose finger draws the courses of the night lights in unalterable arrangement. He holds the great waters within their appointed limits, and the storm water he keeps in restraint. He covers the face of the earth with a green mantle of vegetation. He inundates the land with the waters of life. His arm sweeps across the skies. Men are bewildered. Earth is shaken and nations collapse and fall. The wicked tremble before his manifestations and are consumed in the midst of his fire. The wrongdoer is confounded and lies stricken before his darts of lightning. His thunders rend the roof of heaven, and earth groans out its travail. It is he, the high God, who defeats armies with pestilence, or gives one man dominion over thousands. At his command the seas will rise against the earth, or mountains belch forth fires of destruction. A man lives his allotted span in the dispensation of the high God of old, whose will encompasses the daily task and round. All things have their beginning and end with God. His power cannot be suppressed. His knowledge is the wisdom of eternity. His strength reaches out into infinity. His dwelling place is set in the universal center, and he encompasses all the universes, great and small. His breath sustains life in multitudinous forms, and his thought holds all things to their proper shape. He prescribes the courses of the stars. He issues his commands to the winds, and they sing their responses. The wide seas murmur his praise. He moves the silences in the void of empty space, where the eternal heart lies sleeping. Order and beauty are shaped by his hands. His voice speaks from the sandy silences. He whispers in the cool breezes. He roars in the whirlwind. He murmurs in the running waters. He sighs in the treetops, and men hear his voice without understanding. Man dreams and says this is reality. He sees the shadow, but is blinded before the light. He reasons and is deceived. The design of the true God and his nature cannot be understood in the light of reason, for reason is not with this God, who knows all things without reason. There is none other like unto the one God in all his glory, whose strength can challenge him, whose will can contend with his will, whose might can equal his. Where is another with his wisdom? Who in goodness can compare with him? By the power of his thoughts, many kingdoms are brought forth beyond earth. He speaks the unutterable word, and they are created. He rules his creatures with infinite wisdom and directs their destinies with unchallengeable decrees. His will controls the forces within men, and the thing they seek unknowingly is him. As the body, when hungry, is filled with the urge to eat, and when thirsty, with the urge to drink, so is the spirit in man filled with the urge to seek God. His ordinances govern earth and the heavens above. All things therein have their appointed place and purpose, and in their nature conform to his law. His ways are inscrutable, transcending the understanding of men. His thoughts are a mystery, which men may not fathom. They are veiled and withdrawn beyond the comprehension of mortals. His design is unrevealed to the multitude. Few are the men who can understand why he planted the road to the place of glory with the sharp stones of suffering and pain, or why life is a struggle through the thorny forest of adversity. But the ways of men are known to God, for the Creator ever knows the created, though it does not follow that the created know their Creator. Therefore, O man, remember that your heart lies naked before his gaze, and your innermost thoughts come under his scrutiny. No deed ever goes unrecorded. None can perceive his residence, for he dwells in the profound silence of the outer sphere. Look for him in the order of nature, and see his plan in its direction. Look for him amid the stars in their courses, and see the grandeur of his scheme. Look for the unmanifested spirit in the manifested object. His glory is proclaimed in the heavens. The sun reflects his splendor. The moon witnesses his peace. His fruitfulness is spread over the face of the land, and the waters are filled with his bounty. The earth bends to his will or is broken to his command. Man may walk in the appointed direction, or he will be driven. Walk in the light of the law, and not along the paths of the transgressor. For the laws of the high God are unchallengeable, and cannot be transgressed with impunity. The wrongful deeds and the wicked thoughts of man are indelibly inscribed upon the everlasting tablets of his immortal soul. He is the Creator, in whose spirit, image, and likeness you were fashioned. His laws ordained your present estate and circumstance upon earth. The power of your intellect is his promise of godhood, and the marvels of your body are the works of his hand. His soul communes with your soul, and the consciousness he shares with you is the source of your life. In his sight, all men are equal, and he judges them as men and not according to their estate. The rich and the poor, the highborn and the lowly, the wise and the simple all receive a fitting reward according to their labors. From each is expected results according to his abilities. From some, much, and from others, little. Only that which serves the purpose of the great God is accounted worthy by him. He has established the law whereby the sun shines down on the good and the wicked alike. He sends rain equally for the provident and the improvident. The arrows of misfortune strike the worthy and the unworthy with indifference. Only the most wise may understand why this is the established nature of things. For the generality of men, it is a condition to be accepted with good grace, and for them it is sufficient to know that the seeming indifference of the universe serves its purpose. The true God neither rewards nor punishes, for he has established the law whereby each man decrees his own fate. The future destiny and circumstances of the soul are shaped in the earthly body. When, in the hour of its release, the soul takes flight, freed from its earthly container of flesh, it assumes the form molded by its desires. In that awesome day of reckoning, the wicked shall be revealed in hideous shapelessness, but the upright shall step forward in splendor. Therefore, give due respect to the law of God. Walk in his ways and bow to his decrees. You are placed on earth that his purpose may be fulfilled. Therefore, fight not against his will, nor rebel against his laws, lest you bring about your own destruction. God will not destroy the transgressor of his law, for he will destroy himself. Each man ultimately decrees his own fate and receives his reward or punishment according to the law. Hail to the Creator, giver of breath, God of destinies, great God of thunder and fire, he who roars over the earth, the silent one who walks by your side, unseen, unmanifested, Father God, Mother God, God of comfort and conflict, mighty fighter with stone, the glorious being, the Lord of life and light, God of the gods, Prince of everlastingness, ruler of the netherworld, King of the western kingdom, light of eternity, light of life. These are his names according to his nature. But this also you may know about the true God. He is the fountainhead of all things. His power is unbounded, and his mind knows no limitations. He has the wisdom of eternity, and the mantle of his greatness envelops all of mankind. He sits enthroned in the universal center, and his divine rays, which flow from his presence, hold all forms in stability. He moves his finger in the night skies, and the stars dance along their pathways. He walks upon the wings of the wind, and encompasses all the kingdoms of heaven and earth. Order and beauty follow in his train, and all things obey the directions of his hand. The face of beauty looks out from his works, and the voice of wisdom speaks from the midst of his creation, though it is scarcely heard through the barriers of mortal limitations. Glory and grandeur form his mantle, justice and mercy drape his body, love and benevolence cover his head, and the virtues are his footstool. Discuss not his form, for it is beyond your understanding. Push not among the crowd of his worshippers. Mouth not the words of his writings unthinkingly. Mumble not his praises. Stand not before his shrine in hypocritical humility. Carefully supervise his ministrations, and maintain due decorum in his place. Remember him always. He is with you always, in the midst of the concourse, and in the silence of your bedchamber. His breath gives life to countless forms, and his will holds all things to their appointed shape. Obey his commands. Take heed of the ordinances he has made, for they conform to your needs. All things are bent to the benefit of man, and all that encompasses your life accord with his direction, that the soul within you may enjoy continued gracious growth from stage to stage of its unfolding, so that when the cumbersome sheath of mortal flesh is cast off, it may receive a just and fitting compensation under the great law in accordance with its thoughts and deeds on earth. Where is this strange God of ours? And it is well you ask. For if you would be happy on earth, you must know his ways. He is not a revealed God. He has hidden himself, for he knows well the dispositions of men. Were he here now among the people and revealed to their gaze, the weakling would fawn upon him. The hypocrite would join his following, and the wrongdoer would walk in his train, proclaiming his innocence with a loud voice. How then, if he were here, could the weakling be tested, the hypocrite discovered, and the wrongdoer unveiled? Our God is hidden, that men may be tested and established for what they really are. Were he revealed to the eyes and understanding of men, earth and life would have no purpose. He hides to discover the hearts of men. Is it not declared in the plans of God that uncertainty is an essential earthly condition? Yet this you may know, that if you be worthy, and very few are, there is a method whereby you may look behind the veil, and then no longer will you walk in uncertainty. However, for men in general, the undiscovered God is not apparent. He has no man-made image in his likeness, and he stands in obscurity behind the great alcove, beyond the temple, within the place of flame. Yet he makes himself known in subtle ways, for he cannot remain unmanifested to the truly spiritual, any more than a river can remain hidden, for it dissolves away the ground in which it is concealed. So will the great God spring forth in the midst of material things, and, dissolving away their solidity, shine forth to the sincere seeker. He is not a new God, but the oldest God of all, the Father of all ages, the Ancient One of yore. He requires no temple to establish his glory, or sacrifice to give him strength. A cheerful nature is more acceptable to this God than offerings of gold and silver by the bad-tempered man, or the sacrificial ox of the churlish man. He prefers the man who gives a willing hand to his neighbor, to one who brings him treasure. A word of encouragement to a man in distress is of more value to our God than loud praises in his temple. He does not take all and remain mute. He seeks not gifts with no purpose or wasteful sacrifices. What can man give that will add to his glory? What thing fashioned by man could benefit the one God, who by taking thought could create a universe? Work for our God, and he will work for you. He remembers well the man who labors on his behalf. He who labors to the benefit of others works for the great God. He who improves earth works for him. The purpose of man's sojourn on earth is the glorification of man, not the glorification of God, who is the all-glorious one. Thus it is written in the plans of God. The true temples of the great God are not structures of stone and brick. They are places of quietude in your heart and home, where you listen to the awakening of your soul as it responds to the conscious contact with him. His worship is your labor among the people. His praise is the song in your heart. His adoration is your joy of living. Keep the peace of the mysterious God and maintain the order of his law among men and women, for they are his flocks and herds, and he calls forth shepherds from among them. He made earth a workplace for man and not a pleasure garden. Therefore, be you a song leader at the task. He is the mighty God, the nameless one, from whom your fathers held in awe. He it was who dissipated the darkness over the waters, who separated the chaos, who lifted the cloud, who made the breezes of life to fill the nostrils of men. Men came forth from his members, and they appeared in his likeness. For their sustenance he provided fruits and vegetables, animals, fowls, and fish. He has brought low his enemies, yes, he has even destroyed his own children. He rolled the grain, and lo, it became the food of men. He dismembered the destroyer in olden times. He made daylight for the joy of man, and darkness for his tranquility. Men cried to him in their distress, and he suffers with them. He sends a captain to strengthen the resistance of the feeble, and a champion for the weak. He has endowed men with the power of speech, and bedecked their language with fine words, that greatness may sound around the earth. He has enlightened the mind of man with great thoughts to repulse the might of untoward happenings. He has given him the courage to overcome terrors that lurk by night, and to dispel those that strike by day. He is a God of justice as well as benevolence, for he metes out chastisement, not always obviously, as among men, but sometimes as a man chastises a son for his brother. There can be none greater than the true God. For though himself nameless, he knows every name. Be not reticent to worship, for this is the prerogative of the highborn and wise. The king and nobles attend the temples diligently, but the stupid man and grave robber have no God. Worship bestows no benefit on God, for he is all self-sufficient. Its purpose is the service of man, not the service of God. It fulfills a need of man, not a need of God. Nothing that man can do will add to God's glory. Nothing that man can give will add to that which he already has. These are the teachings of the wise ones, to whom be all due honor and respect. Give ear and listen with a receptive mind. Record them unto your generations, that they pass not away into dust with your habitations. Therefore, let it now be written, and as written, let it be made known.